I've lived in Hackney for most of my adult life. I raised 2 children here and now help to look after my grandchild. Caring for and educating children, as well as working with local families, has been a large part of my life. For the past 15, maybe 20 years, growing edible plants has also become very important to me, and supporting other people to learn to grow food. I coordinated a multi-award-winning school garden, and once retired, I began greening the grey more locally by starting up what became an award-winning community garden in a very urban area. I live on a historic residential road, and like many of my neighbours, I'm a social renter. We never had any problems with congestion, and very few lorries ever passed by. It was a wonderful place to live. That was until Hackney implemented what are called low traffic neighbourhoods. The first I knew of them was this never-ending line of traffic in front of my home. I assumed there were roadworks, but no, we were told, this was to help people walk and cycle during the pandemic. But we always had lots of people walking and cycling on this road. And in fact, that's exactly how I get around locally. I don't own a car, nor do most of my neighbours. What was going on? I started looking into what had happened, and it turns out that large-scale prohibitions of through traffic on other roads in leafier bits of the local area had pushed all the traffic onto fewer roads, just a few residential roads. And those roads tended to be the area, the road, should I say, that had a higher proportion of social housing, and where people from our diverse communities tend to live, where poorer people tend to live, where they wait for buses, where we walk, where we shop. Having taught locally for many years, I also realised that the traffic was being rerouted onto the very roads where so many of our schools were. And they were often the schools with the most disadvantaged intakes. I couldn't believe this was being implemented by my local Labour Council. As a member, I went to the next local party meeting, and I was shocked to hear my ward councillors were supporting this policy that was dumping so much traffic and pollution onto roads like mine. Roads that had high-density social housing, people with the very worst health outcomes, roads where people walked, waited for buses, and above all, where children and babies attended schools and nurseries. Using my local knowledge, I drew up a list of schools and nurseries now facing hours of congestion and what I assumed were raised levels of pollution. I bought a personal pollution monitor just to check my suspicions, and I began sending videos, pollution readouts, everything to our councillors, the MPs, the local council staff, only to be ignored and then gaslighted. I was told it was always like this. We always had this much traffic. I'm misremembering. Really? A few months in, I was prescribed an inhaler because I was finding it hard to breathe. If this was damaging my lungs, what was it doing to the children and babies at those schools and nurseries? On my road and other roads chosen for what I call intentional harm. Eventually, I began to learn more about environmental justice and realised that the impacts of this policy fit the definitions of environmental racism and environmental classism. I found other local residents who felt the same way, and over time, I met people from across London and beyond who also recognised that this is just plain wrong. We've come together to campaign for environmental justice under the umbrella of a new not-for-profit called Social and Environmental Justice. I guess it's what it says on the label. If anything of what I've said resonates with you, if you care about equality, if you want to stand up against this new type of injustice, please, please, please join our campaign.